Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, everyone. I am super overjoyed to welcome as a guest to the show today, Elies Hadi. She has been guiding lightworkers, healers, and starseeds in their awakening journey since 2016. She focuses on helping them to remember their calling, activate their gifts, and fulfill their highest vision. She does this through light language, Akashic clearing, business alchemy, and more. She is also the host of Starseed Goddess podcast, where she talks about all things woo. And she believes that the spiritual awakening and healing journey can be playful yet powerful at the same time. I love that so much. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's so exciting to finally be here.
Yes, yeah, I feel like we've been like lingering in this connection for a while, and now we've
Yeah.
connected today. I'm super excited to have this conversation. I'd love for you to share with us um what inspired you to this work actually.
Hmm. I was searching for my calling or the thing I was meant to do back then. So I
Yeah.
quit my corporate job after 7 years and I was in this in between figuring life out. And I was very active in a spiritual community in Singapore at the time. So my mentor very kindly guided me through this process. And she, one fine day, it was funny because Jennifer and I was just talking about angels right before this conversation. So one fine day, she was like, "Will you be keen to co-host an angel card reading session with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." So obviously, at the time I was still like under her mentorship. So she was like the main host, but it was like a real life experience for me to test things out, so to speak. So I was co-hosting with her. So we were teaching people how to read angel cards. And I still remember the deck was the one on archangels, if I remember correctly, because that was so long ago. It was in 2016. And then I decided to incorporate kind of like a coaching session towards the end. Not so much a coaching session, although I called it back then, but it was more just like facilitating people to share what come up for them and they get to ask your questions. And yeah, kind of you have a little bit of mentoring and coaching and healing going on all at the same time, depending on what come through. So I took up that main part throughout the entire workshop. And then that very night, when I came home, I was like, what was this feeling in my heart that I couldn't put a word into it? It was a great feeling. I just didn't know what it was. And then after kind of like sitting and marinating on that, I was like, oh, I think this is fulfillment. And I mean, like, I was in corporate for 7 years. I've never felt that. So I didn't know what it felt like. It was a work. I know logically what it is, but I never kind of
Mhm.
feel that vibration, right? And there and then when I was like, geez, like this feeling? Yeah, like I want more of that. So that is kind of what got me started. I started from that and then, eventually it expanded to more things like coaching, healing, and then to where I am today. Fast forward like from 2016 to now. But that's just like a catalyst to answer your question.
Yeah, I love that so much that you mentioned that you had the feeling, right? When when so many of us have been living in a society where we're programmed to conform, or we're programmed to look outside of ourselves for the answer and for validation. I believe what you say about feeling is really key. And I talk about that a lot in my teachings as well, in the importance of feeling that truth in our body, like knowing what that feels like for you. And that can be unique to you and your own body and your experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that so much. I'm feeling guided to ask you, this is something that I've been pondering a lot about,
Mm-hmm.
is in the on the topic of star seeds, because I know that you work with a lot of star seeds. I find in the personal development industry and like in a lot of spiritual communities, star seeds are spoken of in the context like either you are one or you aren't one. And I actually believe that every single one of us is a star seed, like that we have galactic DNA within us, right? And often there's more than one stellar origin. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm so happy you brought that up because that was such a topic that is not necessarily easy to tackle because it was just so out of this world, if you know what I mean. Like if you go around the world and telling people you have a galactic DNA inside of you, they're gonna go, are you crazy? Like you actually have alien, like whatever name, people want to put it, because it's often, unfortunately, right, it was often sometimes seen as like the dark entity, or like, oh, it's the alien. I mean, we see it in movies all the time. But coming back to your question, yes, I personally do believe we are a starseed because exactly what you say, we do have easily 20 or more than over 20 DNA of the galactic. Some of those names that I honestly don't even know what the name is. I mean, like there are just so many of them, right? And because of that, that makes us starseed because of the DNA.
Yeah.
Now, not everyone relates to that. So people start to go like, I'm a starseed, you are not starseed, and I'm from Orion, you are not from Orion. And that's also another thing I often share. Like, although I'm teaching starseed, and yes, I give you the definition, I give you all the like knowledge, so to speak, if you may, but I always say that it is not a label. Like the last thing we need in this world is going around and putting people in boxes that this is where the starseed is and this is where the non-starseed is, and then
Yeah.
we are back to separation and like we are missing the
Exactly.
point here.
Exactly. Like I, in my own, direct experience, in my channeling experience and connecting in the records and whatnot, um, we're, this awakened soul having this human experience, but the anatomy of the human body, humanity in general, is a hybrid.
Yes,
Yeah. Of
I'm
a
with
lot
you
of
on that.
different
Mm-hmm.
species,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Yeah. That's so, I'm so glad that I brought that up with you. Yeah, and what you said was so spot on about, in that it just promotes separation consciousness.
Yeah.
It's like either I can be or I can't be. And the truth is that it's more of the and, right? Like we are all of these different aspects of our being. We're this soul, we're this human body, we're comprised of all this galactic DNA. Like we're also part of the earth.
Oh, 100%. The only reason why I'm focusing on starseed, so to speak, is because of bringing the awareness of that too, right? Bringing the awareness that we do come from the star. That's why I focus a lot on that, to bring that awakening process for people, because most of us, we don't even, like you and I, we have been the journey for a long time, but a lot of people, they have zero exposure to this. It's not their fault, they just never heard of it, they don't know. But then like the term starseed, personally for me as well as for a lot of people, kind of like spark something in them, because then they start to think, is it possible that I come from the star? And then the moment that question is being asked, then the whole awakening process open up on a deeper level. It doesn't mean you have to figure out down the rabbit hole about the galactic connections. Like if you want to, you can, you don't have to, but it's just kind of like the trigger for the awakening journey. You will receive what you need at different point. And as you said, it was just part of the bigger picture and bigger process. And this is just like one part of it. We are more than that. We are the earth, we are the element, we are everything at the end.
Yeah. Something else it's just so interesting. There's like this stream of consciousness coming forward right now, and it's like, ask that question, ask that question. Something else that I'm feeling guided to bring forward to extend on this discussion is that we also have this as a collective, right? Generally speaking, up to this point, have had this deeply embedded societal programming in that information, that if we have information, that means we have the answer, or if we have, or the information equates to taking action, or the information equates, right, to the healing or whatnot. But there's a big distortion there, a big inversion in terms of, that awareness or information is really only one component, only really one part of the equation of creating our reality. Anyway, I find a lot of people confuse that, right? They think, oh, if I take this course, or I listen to this podcast, or I do this, or I do that, then I'm taking action. It's like, no, you're not really taking action until you're actually physically acting, right? Or setting different energetic intentions and whatnot, to change that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's what I personally call like embodiment. Like it's
Yeah.
about embodying. Like I can write 5,000 words on love, but if I'm not embodying love on my everyday life, not just radiating the energy and feeling it and the way I treat people. And like love is not just these 30 minutes on the podcast sharing about love. It's what happened outside of this podcast, right? When you walk down the street, do you open the door for someone just because it's nice to do so? But if you don't feel like, you don't have to. But it's really boiled down to that little thing of living life and experience. And a lot of the societal programming that you were saying comes down to that old saying that knowledge is power. But really, like, I mean, like,
It
at
is
the
to
end,
an extent.
yeah, but like, it's not like, as you say, it was not the entire picture. People make it the entire thing. And also, information is powerful, but at the end, it's also depending on how you interpret it, what you do
Mhm.
with it. What is true for me is not true for you as well. I think what needs to dissolve is that obsession about right or wrong,
Yeah.
so to speak, because
Yes.
your truth and mine is like not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Our reality is subjective.
And literally can change like in the next 1 minute.
Yeah, I believe that a universal truth is love, and that's the ultimate source of creation, right? And that love isn't an emotion, which a lot of people confuse it for too, because it does bring about a feeling, but it's more of a frequency.
Yeah, it's the embodiment of being love, not doing love, if that makes sense. Although, yeah, there is both parts, but it's that embodying and being that
Yeah.
frequency.
I'd love to hear more about your work with light language and Akashic clearing, because everyone that's listening listens to me talk about the Akashic records all the time, because I, read in the Akashic records, and I also teach the Akashic records. But I would love to hear about your work.
So for me, my discovery with light language came through spontaneously, literally, because like I was just in the middle of a writing workshop with my mentor, and then halfway through, she's like, "Your light language is coming out," and I'm like, "What?" But then she went through a process with me that helped me activate my light language, and then I started speaking it and sharing it and working with it, and then now teaching people how to activate their light language too. And my work with light language has been really deep for me in the sense that it really is the one of the many tools that has helped me a lot. When I first working with it, I use it a lot more like for transmutation of personal emotion. Like I was going through a lot of emotional healing at the time. So I use that, which is essentially channeling frequency of light anyway, channeling
Yeah.
love and things like that, and letting it transmute all that lower frequency, so to speak, into light and love. That's all I was doing at the beginning. And then eventually venture more into like me working with the star family and the star being, and then channeling their energy and helping people depending on what they need, whether it's DNA activation, chakras activation, and really whatever. So that's kind of like the short story about the light language. And then the Akashic clearing is a funny story. I actually had a dream that I dreamt that someone brought me somewhere and then opened the door and then go like, here is your Akashic library. And I'm like, what? And then throughout that entire conversation, so basically I was having this astral body traveling where I was talking to my Akashic record keeper, which then I know later on, but at the time I was like, okay, what was happening? So like we had like this entire conversation, and then the Akashic record keeper was telling me, you will receive exactly what you need every time. And then if it is nothing, it's nothing. Like you don't, it's like you have a library, but it doesn't mean you have to read all of the books today,
Right.
right? Maybe something you don't feel like reading, you just come and take a look and that's fine. So don't be obsessed about like, it's funny we talk about information. Yeah, don't be obsessed about the information. The information will be revealed whenever you need, and that you can come in anytime. And then I will, like the record keeper tell me, you will come in and literally that page will flip for you. You don't even have to like scramble through like
Yeah.
finding, is it section D number 18 and like slash 41, things like that. So that's my experience of first kind of awakening to my own Akashic library. And then that experience was so profound for me that I kind of just stay with it. And I thought it's like for me only. And then I keep hearing to do the journey with others too. So that's kind of how I got started with that.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I wanted to highlight what you said about, and then sometimes there will be nothing, like the Akashic Records keeper with,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it will be nothing. I've had that happen before where I've asked a question and nothing has come forward. And beyond that, right, something I've talked about lots of times too is that whether you're working in the records or you're tuning into your own guardian angels, spirit guides, whoever your support team is, sometimes silence is the guidance. It's like a lot of people also automatically go to the ego mind and feel like, oh, if I'm not receiving any answers, then I'm blocked somehow. And that isn't always the case. Sometimes that silence, in my experience, comes mostly when that's your guidance to focus on being anchored in the present moment. Like,
Beautifully said. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. Have you
Yes.
have you experienced that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's why I say it's common when you receive nothing. And sometimes it doesn't always have to happen during the journey, so to speak, depending on how you assess it, right? But commonly, usually people go through a meditation journey and then go through this entire meditation.
Mhm.
And then they might receive nothing during the meditation, but they might receive something after that. And I also like to share that you are everything. So you are the Akashic record too, honestly. Like
Yeah.
it's inside of you. The only reason that there is a journey and there is a meditation or whatever way you use to assess it is just tools. It is not meant to trap you or limit you. It's meant to help you. So
Right.
let it help you. But it is not the only way, it changes. Like we can literally be channeling information from Akashic record now, like if you want to. And we are more often than not doing that, maybe not consciously too, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, totally. sometimes the human aspect of us, in order to be able to process something, we have to be able to put it into some kind of construct or some
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, protocol for us
Step
to be.
1, step 2, step 3, and then we are done.
Yes, yes, because everything is actually frequency, right? It's just like, I've it's interesting that we're talking about this right now, because I've been contemplating a lot, reflecting a lot on that very thing. It's just like, even when it comes to other tools that exist, like numerology, for example, or especially because so many of us talk about 3D or 5D or 12D or this D. And it was interesting because one day I got a message, that even the numeric frequencies of the dimensions that we talk about, right, don't exist throughout the cosmos in numeric sequences, really. It's just all frequency, and none of it is in form. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
also a masculine thing, right? You are built into a patriarchal
Yes.
society where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 means literally you draw a ladder up
Yes.
in it's linear, but we are in a multi-dimensional being, parallel reality happening, everything happening once at all the same right here, right now, and there is no linearity at all. But then the information at this level of consciousness, at least collectively, is too much to process at once. So
Yeah.
as you were saying earlier also about the construct, it's just to help to satisfy our human mind, if you may.
Well, yeah,
So
and
it helps
even
us to
the talk
digest
about
and
that, yeah,
process.
even the labeling of that and the focus
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that, right, again, takes us outside of our body, the feeling of our
Mm.
body. So, yes, 3D, 5D, 12D, all of that, the numerology, it all helps us to process it in our human aspect. Also, I would suggest for people, right, is to feel into that. So what does 3D feel like to you? What does 5D feel like to you? Because it's also a
Mm-hmm.
density thing, right?
Totally.
Yeah. It's so interesting, the conversation, how even things that we, attribute to or attest to, it's just fascinating how they are, even sometimes in of themselves, still ways that we label things.
And to add on to that, there is also a concept that I taught once in my own podcast, is the concept of spiritual ego, right?
Mhm.
Like sometimes when we are in the spiritual world and then we thought we are egoless, and then our spiritual ego come in like, oh, I'm on 5D and like you are like on 3D, and like we are not best
Yeah.
friend anymore. Like just be aware of like those labeling and those judgment that we put people, or like, oh, they are not spiritual. Why? Just because they don't meditate? No, they might. I mean, all of us are spiritual to begin with, and there is no such thing as someone being more spiritual or not just because of what they do. Again, what you were saying earlier about
Yes,
the
I love that
doing,
you're
you
bringing
know?
that up as well. Just today, I shared something on social about, it just reminds me of this thing I shared today. I said something like, ascension isn't about being perfect. It's not about
Mm,
perfectionism. It's about becoming more of you.
love that. Yeah.
Like, there is no right or wrong, right? They're just like, is your unique experience, and that's really what ascension is, I believe.
You're the awakening to who you are, the truth of who you are, and just a soul
Yeah.
remembers journey at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. What else are you feeling guided to bring forward?
I feel we covered pretty much a lot of amazing, awesome stuff today,
I know.
really. Yeah, like it was really awesome.
Yeah, I feel like we were
There is nothing specific that comes to mind.
yeah. Great. I know. I feel like we just like covered a bunch of really big topics. It was just like boom, boom.
I know, but like so so compact. It was literally like time collapsing. We are bending time here. I think that's what it is.
I know, I do. I feel like we're in a vortex for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wants to connect more deeply with you, where is the best place for them to go?
They can connect with me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. So you can go to @Elies Hadi Instagram, or you want to find out more about my work, just go to my website, elieshadi.com. You can find all the information as well as my podcast, Starseed Goddess Podcast. You can again find everything you need in the website if you need the link. So that's where you can find all of the magical work I do and share with the
Awesome.
world.
Yay, awesome. And we will have those links in the show notes for those who are listening as well. I trust we've provided the listeners a lot of food for thought, right? I mean, I think we could go down quite the rabbit hole on the labeling.
Oh, we can talk for one whole day on this.
Yes, we for sure could. Thank you so much for coming on as a guest today. It was really, really a treat to connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me. I really enjoyed today's conversation. Sending lots of love to everyone here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.